Alright, I know this video is a day late, but trust me, it's worth it. Actually, no, that's a bold-faced lie. This movie is really bad, and it's not worth anyone's time, but just for the sake of being completists, we're going to talk about it regardless. And it's a movie from 1987. It's called Slaughterhouse. And, you know, there are maybe like one or two things with the movie. It's kind of interesting or entertaining or enjoyable. But by and large, it's just a really underwhelming Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff. And I can't tell you how many Texas Chainsaw ripoffs I've seen over the years. That has to be like the most imitated and knocked off horror film, you know, bar none in history. I can't tell you how many I've seen where the general premise is you have kids going out in the sticks and getting chased down by, you know, rednecks with chainsaws that want to eat them. I mean, I don't know why that's such a huge subconscious fear of, you know, Hollywood and independent filmmakers, but it apparently is, because they're still making these movies, even now, almost 50 years since the movie came out. But yeah, as far as this movie, the first thing I remember about it is it had a really great VHS box cover. I mean, this thing is absolutely beautiful. Like, it's a work of like legitimate art, because you have like this guy who's like wearing, you know, coveralls, and he's got a big bloody hatchet, and he's standing in front of this door, and there's like blue fog everywhere. I mean, it's really, you know, kind of creepy looking. You know, very, like almost kind of like a, how would you describe it? Almost like a weird, like Baroque art painting, kind of. So it's kind of going outside the traditional fare. It's a very memorable cover. Unfortunately, the movie itself just doesn't, you know, hold up to the lofty standards that could have been set by the beautiful packaging. Alright, so Slaughterhouse, I really don't have a whole lot to say about this movie whatsoever, because it's just really rudimentary. It's very straightforward, no curveballs, by the books, incredibly formulaic. Now, I've heard some people describe it as a horror comedy film, but I'm just not seeing the comedy. There were no moments in this movie that made me laugh and go, oh, I get it, they're trying to, you know, do an in-joke or, you know, poke fun at the genre. No. To me, it just came off as just straight exploitation horror. A little bit better looking as far as cinematography is concerned, but by and large, the acting is subpar. Special effects not that great. The kills not that interesting. The characters totally, you know, derivative. Not a whole lot of original ideas in here whatsoever, and not even really good execution on anything. Nothing this movie does, it does exceptionally well. No, absolutely nothing. That said, I will give this movie some credit for having a premise that is pretty much the most 1980s thing ever. Hey, check this out. It's a 1987 slasher movie where the villain of the movie is motivated by Reaganomics. Like, that's the whole driving purpose of the movie. He's not mad because somebody killed his mom. He's not a psychopath and wants revenge for being burned alive. No, he wants revenge against the county board of tax assessors for taking away his property. If that doesn't, you know, reek of, you know, 1987 moral majority, you know, pre-George H.W. Bush, Dan Quayle conservatism, I don't know what does. So that part's pretty interesting. But yeah, like I was saying, man, there's just nothing here. I mean, there's nothing in this movie you haven't seen a million times before, except executed way better. So basically, you got the guy who's mad because the county's taking away his farm, so he sends his giant, you know, 300-pound, you know, I guess son, to go out and murder them, and he butchers them and hangs them up in the meat house, and eventually puts on like a pig mask, and it's kind of spooky, but not really. And from there on out, you just don't care. It's a movie where it's really easy to tune out. I really lost interest in this movie very early on. The kills, I honestly can't even remember them because everything is filmed so dark when people get killed. You really can't make out too much what's happening on screen, so that's not really a factor either. So all in all, despite, you know, having, you know, the cool box art and having a pretty, you know, entertaining premise, or at least a slightly more original premise than usual, there's just nothing here. It's a very by the numbers movie. If you've seen one of these types of movies before, you've seen them all. So there's really no reason to see this one. You know, just going to be honest with you. So using our patented tofu dog rating system, which is kind of ironic, this movie about, you know, killing people and, you know, eating their meat, I'm going to give this one a subpar 1.5 tofu dogs out of 4. Just not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, so we're going to keep rolling along tomorrow with day 20 3 of 31 Days of Horror-Ween. Because I'm backdating this one. So it's going to be 2 videos today. So yeah, tomorrow/today's next video, still in the 1980s, going to be our final look at horror films from the 1980s. And it's a very interesting sequel in name only, which does a slightly better than average job of trying to imitate the most successful horror franchise of the 1980s. It's kind of hard to say anything more without giving it away, but stick around for it. It's not good, but it's kind of interesting. You know, it's a guilty pleasure movie, and you might stick around for that. So I guess I'll be seeing you tomorrow or today, whenever this video gets uploaded.